Welcome to the Grit and Growth podcast brought to you by Convertium.ai. I'm your host, Jessica Hobirk, and today we're diving into one of the most exciting shifts in our industry, how AI and tokenization are transforming real estate and construction finance. I'm joined by Rob Stewart, a military veteran turned fintech innovator and the CEO of CREquity.AI, a direct lending platform using AI to streamline, underwrite, and open new opportunities for builders, developers, and investors.
Good job. Thanks. Really appreciate you inviting me to come over. I've never done a podcast before, so I'm sure I'm going to put my foot in my mouth, but I'm going to do the best I can. You did a great job. I'm Rob Stewart. I'm the CEO of CREquity.AI. We are an emerging fintech and direct lender for ground-up construction and real estate asset-based lending. Our technology kind of started from my brain, if you will, about 2 years ago. I kind of got tired of just sitting around underwriting deals that went to nowhere, spending just an inordinate amount of time. So, equating this to the developer and or builder or construction folks, you guys you see land, you make an investment, an opportunity, you get your contract and your GC or your development agreement with the client. And then you go in this proverbial like underwriting do loop between the city with plans and permits. And then you got some guy down at the bank that's dragging his feet. And you have no idea what's going on. There's no transparency. And all you guys want to do is put a shovel on the ground and build something and, make dirt happen and get something nice going. So what we tried to do is we tried to come up with an all-encompassing technological solution that allows full transparency. Mm-hmm. One of the key and underlying, I guess, ethos or types of things in the military objectives is what we call common operating picture. So irrespective if you're the developer or if you're the client or the lender, you can come into our software and actually see where your request for funding and capital is, along the way, right? So we're just providing that timely, professional, prompt responsiveness. And with AI, getting into your first question, which I believe I have it right here, which is AI lending. How is AI changing the underwriting and deal evaluation in the company? Mm-hmm. Well, I haven't done anything revolutionary. I know there's a big shock. Everybody says AI is doing all this and that. We really didn't do anything. Just what we did was we took essentially the parameters, what we call parameters or key performance indicators required to do a deal. So a deal requires about 11 to 12 different documents and different sources of data. What we did was we took that and we took the format, which is a structured format. So structured data, just to give you a little bit of a segue, structured data is like a commercial loan application. You're giving it to a user, you're asking them for very, key information, first name, last name, address,
basics,
all that kind of stuff, right? And then you have these things that are intangible called unstructured data. Unstructured data is the actual market value of a property or, the T12 rent roll or the occupancy. These things change based on conditions, based on the market, based on the leasing, the rate. The same thing with building, cost of material, cost of labor. If you have enough electricians or if you have wiring or whatever, if there's a shortage, things fluctuate, right? So what we did, we built the model of a large language model and AI to allow our AI assistant, our chatbot, to go through piles upon piles of data, tax returns, personal financial statements, tax assessment records, plans, permits, all the things you need, 20 or however many documents between the borrower and the project in order to come to an approval, right? Broke that down in about 10 or 12 different steps. And we trained the AI model to go in and do keyword searches and to have basically like an integral, an upper and lower limit, which says, okay, this is an acceptable range and tolerance. This is what this should return. And then we took that unstructured and structured format and came up with our own large language model, which turns into both a term sheet, comprehensive underwriting document, which leads us to what you guys want, a loan decision in rapid time, right?
Nice.
That process typically back in the day and even probably, I don't know, a year ago, 6 months ago would take you, right, as let's just say an operator, a week to 2 weeks just to get a term sheet. With our technology, when a client comes on the platform, they're able to submit all that documentation in real time. And before they actually exit the actual platform, they'll get a conditional approval outlining exactly what kind of terms they want to look at or what they're going to have based on what they've given us. Awesome. And then they can say they want to move forward. They want to move forward. The AI assistant then will walk them through the process. each step, asking for additional information, asking follow-up questions. I want you to think of this as I really truly tried to build a platform that's like TurboTax for lending. I mean, I know that sounds really crazy, but I was like, man, there's a billion people out there that use TurboTax. Some people give it the middle finger. Some people like it. But at the end of the day, there's a lot of people out there paying $39.99, $49.99 or whatever, and submitting their taxes and don't have to go to an accountant and don't have to worry about getting ripped off. And,
Perfectly
they're able,
happy.
right. You can't satisfy everybody, but for the argument's sake, you really are able to get most of it done, right? To be very transparent with you, when we started to go through this process, I was like, well, if we can develop AI, if we can develop technology for the purposes of doing taxes, we can also do that for lending, because the same information you're asking for on a tax return is the same information that we're going to need to provide debt and equity.
Yeah.
There's no difference, right? So we took that was the objective, right? From a military, you got the objective, right?
Mhm.
And then we just work backwards. Okay, how is TurboTax built? And more importantly, what kind of AI parameters can we put around it to expedite, utilize neurolinguistic programming, utilize machine and deep learning? And that was kind of the basis. And then from there, we just kind of sprouted from there and said, okay, this is what we need to do. This is the desired output. And we ring fenced around that and had our AI kind of built in various different key performance indicators and metrics in order to derive us to a loan decision.
Awesome. That's really awesome. So I guess that leads us into kind of our question number 2. You kind of covered it. How can AI help unlock capital for builders and investors who are otherwise facing barriers?
That's a loaded question, Jess. I don't think you can ever give someone 100% solution on how to overcome all barriers. What we try to do, Jess, is we try to lower the barrier of entry. So what I did to address that question, what I did was I took the two possible worst financial situations that have ever faced the United States, both the stock market crash back during the 20s and then the most recent one back in 2008. The common denominator with that was the working man, right? So I want you to think about you as a business owner and an aspiring tech innovator in the construction and development
Mhm.
space. You get paid on transaction, which your transactions is a client comes in, they say, hey, Jess, I need for you to help me build out a shopping center, or I need for you to help me build out whatever. And then you go, you take your team down there, you go through your checklist and you get your material, your labor costs, you give them a rough order magnitude. You guys go back and forth, do a little horse trading, and then you execute a contract. Now, you're detrimentally relying on that person to go out and make good, timely investments and to secure funding. You have no control over that, but you're hoping that that person is going to secure funding, right, from a reputable, what we call red-blooded American or whatever, that's going to be able to not only give them the funding today, but more importantly for you, when you submit an invoice for a draw, that they're able to pay you timely, right? So for me, I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to control a software that's going to help dictate people's lives, but I can't do that unless I put myself in position of each user category, right? So I said, if we take the two most detrimental financial crises in the world and we work back of what happened there, and then more importantly, what was the actual result of that environment at the end and who lost the most, and then take technology and try to lower the barrier and reduce that in the event that it would happen again, how would we do that? And that was like the back end of my mind as we were coding and developing software, right? So where we came up with that was we said, all right, if Jess is out here building a single family development and she is going to be having a completion guarantee or builder guarantee for this, how do we reduce exposure? So when you come into our platform, there's a couple different things that are going on in the background. We're not only underwriting the deal, but we're underwriting the best possible way to get you what you want while reducing risk of unsuccessful performance. So what is the biggest issue you have in the financial world? The biggest issue you have in the financial world when you're talking about ground up construction and development is you're dealing with just dirt, right? It's not producing revenue. It doesn't have a body in it. There's no foreseeable way to actually generate revenue. It's just dirt. It's got plans and permits and an idea, and it's going to take someone like yourself to be able to put the resources around it to develop it. For us, what we said was, let's think of it from the developer. The developer needs two things. They need cash, timely, be able to pay their people either daily, weekly, or monthly, and that's all your business. And they also need to have the financial wherewithal and the backing and the security that they're going to get it paid. So what we did was we looked at it in two ways. We said, again, you have a blockchain contract. So we issue a blockchain contract. We take your contract, put it on the blockchain. We say, okay, There's some nodes in here. There's some agreed upon terms and conditions. Jess has got to put a foundation down. She's got to do some dirt work. She's got to put some concrete. And when she does these things, both parties have agreed that they're going to pay her a draw release of 10% of the negotiated price for this effort being completed. So, okay, what decides that? Is it a certificate of occupancy? Is it the closeout of a permit? Is it a video? Is it a snapshot of the work being done? Is it the invoices of the people assigned to the job? Everybody has their own way to cook a pizza, right? Whatever you guys decide, that's on you. What we said was on our side, we're going to have technology that irrespective of the agreed upon terms, when the person who's receiving the service says that, hey, this is what we agreed to, and then Jess provides that invoice with the substantiating records of the associated terms agreed upon happen, it's an immediate release of capital.
I love that.
Right. So now instead of you waiting and, your client on their private jet down in the Caribbean,
Yep.
or they get sick, or for some reason they can't figure out their password to log into their Bank of America,
Of course, conveniently.
you're not having to wait on that, right? Because at the end of the day, these people don't realize you run a construction business, which is service driven, which is day labor. It's already a labor shortage. Material gets more expensive. It doesn't get cheaper. And your guys are depending on you come Friday, at 3:00. They're going to want their weekly money to be able to do whatever.
And
right?
they'll be broke by Monday, asking me for more money.
Exactly. So what we try to do is we try to design software that not only took in the upper and lower limits of issuing an instrument, but allowed you the ability to come into the software and move at the speed of business. Right now, some of the things that our technology is going to do in the future, which currently doesn't do, is a for change orders and things like that. As you probably are aware, people throw this term blockchain out there like it's just kind of going out of style. Blockchain is just smart contracting that has what's called an immutable ledger that just says, hey, when we agree to something, it's on this record and it doesn't change. You can modify it, you can amend it, you can go up and down, whatever else. But if it's on here and both A and B agree that this event happens, then there's a release of escrow, a release of payment. It just does it in real time. So there's just really no argument. There's really no dispute as long as the conditions are met. We just decided that instead of you doing that on the manual sense, we brought it into an AI environment and said, okay, Jess, when you pour that foundation, you submit that invoice and you get the guy down from the city to click accept or provide you with that sign off of that permit, then that money is released because we're keeping that, right? We're keeping that on the ledger for that specific purpose and use.
Past
right?
inspection. That's awesome. Yeah, that's perfect. I know I've definitely run into quite a few issues with some of the clients where things are 100% completed, but they want to change something on the design. And since that's not completed, they don't want to pay me. I'm like, hey, that's a design change. Has nothing to do with the original scope of work that we're dealing with. You can't just hold the money.
Right.
I like the blockchain for it, like just pushes people into integrity. It keeps everybody honest, and you can't fudge it up if it's all there clear in writing.
Right. And then to that point, there's, you can put in there because you have a contingency reserve, you have a management reserve, and then you can also contract with your client that you can have a certain amount of hours, labor, or set aside funds for, because I mean, for example, right, I know you have your next question, but I just want to, kind of relate this back to the audience. A client will come in and they will just be wowed at the work that their contractor does for them. Like they're, people are just people, right? They'll see a kitchen, they'll see the model and they're like, all right, I want blah, blah, blah. And then like with you, I'm sure you, under promise and over deliver. You'll go in there and you'll put something in there that, they weren't expecting. And they're like, wow, this crown molding, I would just love this throughout my house. And maybe you had some leftover whatever and you just showed it to them and they loved it. Now they want it throughout the house. We have the ability on the blockchain to account for those things, right? Which are, again, upsells that may not have ever been realized in the normal way. Because guess what? I'm sure when you call a client, you say, hey, client, blah, good news. We were able to finish the kitchen a week early. And because of that, I was able to but I'm going to have to charge you for it. That probably doesn't go over very well. Whereas, if you've already accounted for those things on your blockchain, you do it, that may actually turn into more business for you that you're already going to do anyway.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I definitely love where this is going with technology. It just keeps people honest. It keeps people at the forefront, and you're losing less in the long term. I know good contracts always make good relationships. So this is just the next phase. Let's get to tokenization in real estate. What impact will tokenization have on access, liquidity, and ownership in the next 3 to 5 years, in your mind?
I honestly think that tokenization is going to be the wave of the future for real estate assets. I don't know to what degree, to what size, scope, and magnitude. I just know that with blockchain coming on into a serious effect, and then crypto, and then the fact that everything, even the United States Treasury, right, is held up by or is supported by mortgage-backed securities. Tokenization of those securities with the SEC kind of, I think they've got a couple different proposals out there about bringing crypto to the forefront and allowing it to be traded more actively and whatever else on open markets. I feel as though that it's just a natural progression, right? I mean, for example, so Jess, what we look at tokenization is people are real kind of, it's kind of like that eighth wonder of the world. They know it exists, but they don't really have never seen it. And everybody has crypto, but they don't know which one is the best one, and they don't want to get scammed and all this kind of stuff. People see real estate. People see general contractors. People see concrete and dirt. They can go and walk to that, right? Even the guy that's in Arkansas or the guy in the PhD that's up in, Dartmouth or whatever else, they understand real estate. They can open a door and say, okay, this is a house,
Yep.
right?
Physical.
People don't understand Bitcoin or crypto, right? So to me, just in my very small, pea brain, I believe that tokenization of real estate really is kind of the bridge between the folks who want to kind of delve into the crypto space, have been investors, but want to bring those together. Like the tokenization is kind of the bridge between those things where, okay, I understand real estate. I own apartment complex. I own real estate, rental house. I've bought and sold real estate. Really not really sure about this crypto thing. The tokenization to me brings both. It's kind of like, I'll use a term that you probably heard before, right? So think of tokenization as peanut butter, right? And or Bitcoin is peanut butter and real estate is jelly. By themselves, they're okay, right? But together they make a tasty sandwich.
There
right?
you go.
So tokenization is that sandwich to me where you're taking something that is very theoretical, very digital, which is Bitcoin and Ether and ERC and TRC and Dogecoins and all this other kind of stuff. And you're making that into a tangible asset, which is tokenization, right? I'm paying for shares or stock or ownership or some type of interest into a tangible asset, which is tokenized real estate. So to me, I think it's a natural progression. And I think it's the only real way that the United States government, at least in my mind, will be able to tax stuff is to say, this guy has an equitable interest in these things, right? Which is hard and asset. So I unfortunately, I know everybody, tax is a 4-letter word. I believe it's going to come about in two ways. Number one is something that people can actually get a hold of and grasp. Two, from a perspective of the Treasury and where the United States government is going, I think it's a legal, meaningful way where they actually can tax what you do with crypto.
Yeah. Good and bad, right? Got to take the good with the bad.
Good and bad. Yeah. Unfortunately. Yeah.
All right. Well, let's talk a little bit about risk and compliance. Where do you think human oversight will still play a critical role in this AI-driven lending?
So I don't know if you had a chance to look at our stuff. We are kind of, I'm very type A when it comes down to AI and people's like NIL, like their image likeness is their information, their digital footprint. CREquity.AI is the first, and from what I understand, the only AI data-driven lending platform which does active and continuous anti-money laundering and know your customer continuously, both when you come on the platform and as you transact. It doesn't matter if you're a broker or if you're a borrower or if you're a lender or investor on the platform. Even myself, we all have to go through AML and KYC with your passport, your social security card, driver's license, date of birth, because we do have the ability to tokenize real estate. We don't want to, be contributing to things that violate the Patriot Act or cross borders, but we do want to allow people who are in those what we call gray zone lending areas like Dubai, UAE, and certain other areas, that if they find a legitimate legal purpose to invest their crypto or they want to tokenize into real estate, then they have an ability to do that. It's called cross-border funding. Okay. So we're actually doing testing in that, but we're doing it in a small iterative testing where I think we developed our platform to be compliant all the time. So it's not even a question for me. I'm not probably the best one. Some of these other guys out here with compliance, they may get kind of bent out of shape. Ours is compliance on a continuous spectrum. That's actually one of the key KPIs that's on our blockchain and within our actual software. And because we have verifiable, immutable, like when you come on, you register, you do your AML and KYC. We have audited, random, continuous checks. I mean, it's not like a security clearance with the federal government, but like if you go and you commit bank fraud or something like that, then we will actually get a notification of that, and we'll have a conversation with it. Things happen with people. I'm not against whatever. I'm not saying if you got whatever going on, but we do want to make sure, especially from the lender consumer side, the folks that are receiving funds, transacting hundreds and thousands and millions of dollars, that the people who purport themselves to be lenders, that say they're doing something or whatever else, are actually doing the right thing.
Of
So
course.
from us, we tie your background, your digital fingerprint. You actually had to take a selfie on our platform. You have
Nice.
to upload a real time driver's license or passport, and then it does AML and KYC. And if you want, at some point in time, I can show you how we do it. But there's
Yeah,
a
I'd love to see that.
script that we run all the time, and I get alerts all the time whenever people are registering and they have things that we want to talk to them about. So for us, compliance is throughout the entire spectrum, not just at the time of the transaction, but continuous, as they are users on the.
That's awesome because things change by the minute, and that ability is very pivotal to everything. That's awesome that you guys have that in place. How does combining AI with tokenization open new opportunities for investors, do you think?
Oh, I think it's huge. Now you have a lot of investors that are always looking for the next best cutting edge opportunity that's going to pay them the highest rate of return. Again, just going back to our normal model, I mean, the only difference between a savvy investor and a new investor is just education, experience, and being able to read through, different types of private placement memorandums and offering documents, and then knowing the space. For us, I think that we're going to be able to allow people, again, lowering the bar of entry, who otherwise wouldn't have those opportunities, to utilize AI, utilize predictive analytics, AI, and machine and deep learning, and take from what we've put into the system and what other things that happen, all the openly, publicly available source and data, and make a real time informed decision on business opportunities that they never would have probably even thought of.
Mhm.
Right. I'm a huge proponent just because you're not a brain surgeon does not mean you can't invest, smartly in a small medical device technology that could be, the next telemedicine or something. We don't
Mhm.
know. So I think with AI, you're going to bridge the gap for the people who traditionally would have just said, you know what, I'm going to keep my money in my money market account. I'm going to earn my 3% a year because I don't know anything about that investment stuff. Right.
Exactly.
Now, with AI and machine and deep learning and NLP, they are able to kind of say, maybe I'll put $1,500 or $3,000 into an investment. Let me just see what it looks like, and be able to model and simulate and have confidence that they are doing something positive with their money. So to me, I think it provides them another tool. I mean, it's not the end all be all, but I think AI is going to allow people who traditionally would never even thought of or been quote unquote investors to have a slice of being an investor or having opportunities that they otherwise wouldn't have looked at.
Definitely. I believe that it's going to level the playing field for a lot of people as well.
Agreed.
But awesome. I mean, this has been a really powerful conversation. We covered how AI is reshaping underwriting, and the potential tokenization in real estate, and what all that means for builders, investors, and the future of the industry. Rob, if people want to get in touch with you, would you like to give us your website and your contact information? Maybe people want to reach out and discover your lending
Yeah,
capability.
because they can contact me through you. We can do it as a team. Always looking
Awesome.
to support the team, but if they want, they can reach out at www.c as in Charlie, R as in Romeo, equity.ai, and I can be reached at rob@CREquity.AI. And if they mention that you or the team on the podcast, we'll make sure they get that royal treatment.
Awesome. I appreciate it very much. Thank you so much for your time today. And your insights are super, super valuable to this industry. And I look forward to working with you and continuing this relationship. I hope you have a wonderful day. And thank you to all of our listeners. Tune in next week for some more podcast episodes. Thank you. Have a great day.
Thanks, Jess.
Bye.